I'm just asking if I can make a point.
Acknowledge me.
Yes.
So I had a bit of a think about this today because I'd watched the Liverpool game, and again, like everyone else, was thoroughly impressed by how Liverpool did and managed Chelsea quite effectively. I think this is going to sound absolutely bizarre, but I genuinely think that this first sort of 10 games we've seen of Slot, I genuinely think over the past 2 or 3 years of Liverpool, these first 10 games they've played so much better. Graham gets it, but they played so much better than what they have the last 3 seasons of Klopp.
I agree. I think you're so much more sturdy and so much more. It's like he's looked at Klopp's thing, and Klopp's so about what Klopp is, and he's gone, because I'm not Klopp, I can say, let's tweak that a bit, and then you get this as well.
And I think the key thing, I've been trying to put my finger on what it is that I think is the main difference, and I think it's the amount of energy they put into getting the ball back. Because Klopp was always like, you've got to press him, 100% of the time, you've got to hammer him. Again, Josh, you can tell me if it's different, because again, I don't watch Liverpool 100% of the time. But when I've watched Klopp, that seems to be what goes wrong for him towards the end, is that they sort of run out of legs. It's what happened with Dortmund. Yeah. And I think with Liverpool, that's what was starting to happen, is that the players just didn't have it, the energy to keep going. Because if you look at Van Dijk, you look at Salah, Robertson's losing his energy a little bit. He's not totally, I'm not saying he's wrecked or anything, but obviously there has to be a little bit of that being drawn back. And I think why I'm so impressed by what Slot's done is he's managed to change it from being the bombastic energy, firing all cylinders at all times Liverpool that Klopp had. And everyone, don't get me wrong, was fun to watch because you didn't know at times if it was going to go Liverpool's way. Obviously, when they were winning league titles and Champions Leagues, it was clearly going the way all the time. But the past couple of seasons, it definitely had waned and not been as effective. And I just think the way Slot has them working, I don't, apart from City, I don't really see them tripping themselves up that much this season. If they keep going the way they're going, and of course that's what we're saying about the Arsenal test next week, but I don't really see anyone laying a finger on them apart from maybe City. The way they're playing right now, they could go 90 plus points quite easily, I think.
It's a more sustainable style of play, because that's what happened every season. Is we'd get to the last six to 10 games, people were just knackered. And they were, and it was something that I said when Slot came in before the season started. I said the one thing I felt he was going to do was just drop that high line a little bit, slow things down, because what was happening more and more was we'd concede a goal because we'd go in bosh after a game, and at the start that's the only way we knew how to play. When you're getting tired and you're trying to go for that, you just leave much bigger gaps all the time. I was going to come on to Trent anyway, but that's why he got caught out more often under Klopp stuff, because we had a high line and everyone's boshing forward, and he's coming across and in all the time, leaving that right area exposed. And in that game, he's the best defensive performer in that game. He has been in the last couple of England games, and hopefully people will start to see this season that actually he's a bloody good defender. But that style of play just left him so exposed. That's why he got caught out. So I do think that's why we're not conceding as early or conceding pretty much. It's exciting in a different way to watch, and
I do think Slot's biggest test will probably come next summer, because if I don't think it will happen, but if, say, for example, Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent, whose contracts are all up, go, he's got 3 big holes to fill there. And I just don't know if they're going to be... I mean, obviously they'll have the scouts in place and they'll have the system in place to bring replacements in. But whether or not they'll be able to do it straight away to the level that they're doing it now is a bit tricky. But I do think that if Liverpool, say by the time we get to Christmas, and they've basically lost 1 or 2 more games and that's it, I think that's a big convincing and, I don't know, incentive, I guess, to Van Dijk and Salah and Trent to go, Klopp's gone and we're even better now, so why would you leave? I think
as a team at the moment we are, I think, 2 points ahead of when we won the Premier League, the season that we won, and the last time we got 90 points, I think we were ahead of then as well. So we have been one of our better starts the season. it's interesting. It is.
And I think you're not under the pressure. Do you know what I mean? Because we all know what City can do. And let's be honest, City is still mucking around a little bit. They've been a bit, they've gone behind 5 of their 7 games so far, and they've still got that period of, who knows what's happening at the back end of that. But Liverpool fans honestly weren't expecting the title. They were prepared. New manager. We have to be patient. And okay, it's different once you're in a title race, you want to win it, of course, but they'll not feel that they have to. They'll feel and just because you're there and competing, as you said, maybe that's enough for Trent and for Salah. I mean, I think Van Dijk's already in contract talks. I honestly don't see Van Dijk or Trent going anywhere unless Trent's got some crazy desire for Madrid and the money and the rest of it. That's the only thing that could possibly, but I don't see it. I'd be surprised. I can't see Van Dijk going anywhere. Salah at some stage is at that point of his career, you can see it, but and Van Dijk will then get to that point. But you'd hope that you can have a Van Dijk while you're bringing along the next centre back.
I think you can cope if it's just Salah. You can cope with just losing a Salah because as much as he brings everything in, and he's probably one of I'm not saying one of the best players we've had in the Premier League while he's been at Liverpool. But you can almost make adjustments, so you can sort of tweak a style of play, and you can bring players in, and the goals are more shared out. And I think our style of play hasn't been as reliant on him as it has been in previous seasons. In previous seasons, I think we needed him playing well, and when he didn't, no one else was there. So I think we could almost deal with him. I don't want him to go. Before I get any shit off any Liverpool fans anywhere else, don't want him to go. I think he's amazing. But I think you can almost cope with him going. If Trent and Van Dijk were to go, that would be a kicker. But I'm the same with you. I don't see Van Dijk going. I think he's in a weird position in his career to really go and do anything else. I think Salah's got the money that he can make. He can sort out his family and his kids and his kids' kids and his kids' kids.
Yeah, and he's from a part of the world where football is growing and they're trying it, and they want Salah because they know that he's going to be the big poster boy to push it.
And he might want to be that poster boy to help improve football in that area where he's from,
I don't see. I view it differently. I generally think there's a good chance that Salah will stay. I don't say it being like another 5 years, but I think you get him another 2 years. Same with Van Dijk. I think Trent's the one that I think everyone needs to be worried about, because I do think there is that. I think Madrid will have a pull, and we've seen like Liverpool players go to Madrid before, like Steve McManaman. I mean, he's from Liverpool. He's a Scouser himself. That should have been like Liverpool's the holy grail to him, but and then you've got such a young Madrid team. Trent sort of fits into that sort of spine of that team.
And he's won everything. He's won everything.
So he might want that. Yeah, he might want that challenge, mightn't he? And then it's ironic. You may well end up with. Remember that summer where Henderson and Trent were trying to persuade Bellingham to go to Liverpool? Is you may now have Bellingham on the England camps the other way round with Trent.
I'll be the only thing I will be annoyed about if he goes. I can understand going at some point. The thing that would rankle me, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans, is if he goes on a free. Yeah, that would be because I've seen some people say, "Oh, well, he doesn't know the club anything." He does. He owes the club everything, because as much as he's done for the club, and without them bringing him in, putting the faith in him, putting all that development into him, he wouldn't have anything. He wouldn't be who he is. And I do think you owe that. Luis Suarez got us money, and he could have left quite easy, but he didn't. And I can see you, Grimmy. I'm not going to cut you off.
No, but I was just gonna ask though. But is that the player's responsibility to get money into the club?
Only if because he is a local boy. I would think you wouldn't want to leave your club in a position where he's such a key player leaving in such a key position and such a key for me from a person, not as a footballer. As a Scouse lad, as someone,
I get that argument. Like I do understand the argument. Like I'm not disregarding. I guess I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit in the sense of, but why have Liverpool left it so late in the day to get a contract with him?
I think that's despicable. I do think if that's because I've seen some people say, well, you don't know what's been going on. There could have been conversations taking place for a while, but these things don't stay quiet
Yeah.
very often.
Someone would have said something at some point. An agent would have leaked it. Liverpool could have leaked it to put pressure on Trent, vice versa. And I mean, Van Dijk's came out today to say he's having contract talks. So, like, you know,
and it's not the first time, and he's not the first player, and it's not the first time this has happened under FSG. They have got form of leaving it till we're in the shit, and we can quite literally be left with this. So I do think that's bad show from the club, and which is a separate conversation. I think in regards to the ownership and the way that they run contracts is mental. I mean, I think I've seen something that sort of said, you know, Liverpool have got to be careful of managing the contract bill for the UEFA financial rules, because we sort of operate on the cusp of. Well, I think we stay profitable. We never fall foul of any of those. We can afford to have a dodgy season, but they just don't like to. And I think Salah earns that much more. I think 30% more than anybody else in the club. And I imagine Trent would justifiably want to be there or thereabouts. And you know, like I said, it's justifiable for what he brings. And that could skew it. So maybe they're trying to sort of like figure out figures or faff about, which could be delaying it. But like you said, though, they've had time to do it. It's not like it's a surprise his contract runs out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably the problem they've got, isn't it? Is that those three are the three biggest earners.
Yeah.
You know, you're not dealing with one, you're dealing with three. And what happens with one impacts the other two, because that's where the funds are going to come from, isn't it? So to have all three at the same time is probably, and if you're sorting one out, then the other two might go, oh, hang on a minute, am I not the one?
But that's the other thing I don't get about Liverpool is, how do they not have the money? They have a 60,000-seater stadium. They're one of the biggest teams in the world. They have big sponsorships coming in. Like, how do they not have the money to pay for it? Like, that's the thing I don't get.
Well, I think my understanding is, and obviously I don't work accounts in Liverpool, so I'm not fully akin, but my understanding is, I know, that they asked, but I was busy. But I think my understanding is they can afford to go over, but they don't like to operate on that level. With some clubs, you can have like 3 years of goals over. They haven't had any, and they try to stay out of that consistently. And like Sam said, I think if they start with Van Dijk and give Van Dijk, increase him to a level, and then if they go for Trent and increase him to a level, it makes the contract easier with Salah. At the end of it, I think if they bump up Van Dijk and Trent by a level, and do Salah first, and then the other guys are going, well, Jesus Christ, you're giving this guy like £400,000 a week, and you're offering us 150. That's a bit knocked off. Where I think if they do it the Van Dijk, then Trent, then Salah, fiscally it makes more sense. But what dickhead allowed you to be in a situation where you've got your three biggest earners with all of their contracts being renewed at the same time? And that's not my fingers pointing at you, FSG and Edwards and all of you people, but. It is what it is, but it was a lovely day of football, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it.